Hello and welcome to This and That. I'm Dave Leese.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Hello.
Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. We're going to catch you up on all things skating. So if you are new here, subscribe below and smash that like button. We need some love today. We're having some rough Sundays. We both have had just a moment. So
yeah, exactly.
Jonathan had a quarantine night. I'm imagining long-stemmed martini glasses were used.
Yeah, kind of, but sadly no dinner was served. So it was a rough morning for me. And that's, and we're going to talk about this.
Jonathan, that's what happens when you date someone who works in fashion. You know, you can eat or you can drink. You can't do both, okay?
And to me, I must do both. There is like no way around it. Oh my gosh. And I feel so old. I'm like still rallying. I lost this beautiful, beautiful day outside. And I was just like, it's terrible.
So the last Pride that I went to before I quit drinking, I remember we went out for Pride the night before. And like, I'm one of those people, I'm high energy as the day is long and I get tired, right? And alcohol would only like accelerate that tiredness.
Okay.
Like if I was feeling tired, it would like boom, like it would just allow me to relax enough that I would let myself fall asleep. Well, I was with friends and they wanted to like stay out all night and then like they could rally the next day. Chris Shipley, who's an adult skater, could like rally and go to the parade, and I was like, what? And I just remember it was a beautiful Pride and I was in my room like sleeping, hating the world,
moaning because you feel like the world is ending. It's terrible. I don't understand those people. Same thing even at like when we go to skating events like in Vegas and you've watched a full day of skating and it's a full day of socializing, and then we have people who'd be like 11:30. They're like, okay, everybody ready to go out? And I was like, ready to go out? Are you crazy? I've been ready to go to bed for the last 2 hours.
Well, it's a struggle when you go out with people who are drinking like that when you're not. Like, you can only have so many Diet Cokes, Jonathan. Like, I don't drink Diet Coke in normal life like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you need something to do. But it's okay.
Just saying. I'm a big fan of sleeping. So there you go.
Yeah, but Vegas is hard because you get that dry throat, so then you feel like you're sick, even if you're not really sick. It's, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So
Terrible.
I don't know how people live there. What do they do? Ugh. So
I don't know.
I've had this like weird day. I woke up. When I was going to do a call with Charlie White that Igor had for his classes, Zoom was down for like 20 minutes. So then the call was extended.
Like all of Zoom?
All of Zoom was down. It was an outage. It was like, like when Twitter or Instagram goes down or Facebook and the world like implodes for 2 hours. Right? Yeah. So it was one of those.
Okay.
And then, listen to Charlie, and then I've been tutoring this kid because my mom's cousin had surgery and she was like loopy and pain meds, and then I've been tutoring him for the last 2 weeks, and she was like, do you want me to take the kid back? And I was like, okay, like I've got a lot going on, so you can take him back. Like I've gotten sort of into it, but I'm also like, I can relax my plate and have more time for creative things. So like I don't want him to feel like I'm abandoning him, but he's in good Polish Catholic hands, right? So, but like we had to give like we had to compare notes on our student. So,
okay. Wait, what did Ross say? You didn't just thank the previous teacher and wish him good luck on the new one?
No, I didn't just thank the previous teacher and wish him good luck. No, we trying to figure out. There are some like situational difficulties, and is it a learning disability? Is it a situational thing? Is it, what is the...
It can be so eye-opening, even when I've had vocal students, to be able to talk about it with like a coach that has also worked with them. Yeah. And to just clarify, like, is this their energy that's just a little weird? Or am I being weird? Or did you know how to fix this? Or how did you handle this? Yeah. So
I was also pinch hitting. So I was pinch hitting tutoring someone I had never met before over FaceTime. So
that's tough.
And his mom doesn't really speak English. So it's just like a whole like set of problem solving and like strategic things going on. So,
yeah. And
like my inner Debbie wants to come out when I'm tutoring, but
Debbie Lees, not Debbie Thomas.
Yes. Yeah.
I had the Demi Thomas evening.
But I'm trying to build him up, so we try to avoid those.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Oh, I see what you did there. Okay. Gotcha.
But oh my God, but the kids today, they have to do different things. And it's hard because I have my sense of humor and then I have my competitive nature. So my student had a quiz where they had to not only write the answer, but then write how they got the answer. And he wrote down, because it's easy. Because it is. For his answers. And the teacher didn't...
Which is honestly sometimes we all think is hilarious. We're like, what do you mean? I just know it. What? I didn't cheat. I just know that. I don't know. Why is 2 + 2? Yeah.
So like, I thought it was funny and had great attitude and wanted to somehow like wring his neck virtually. Like,
right.
These are easy points.
Yeah, come on. You're throwing these points away. Yeah.
But anyway. One time I tutored this girl who had a great personality, and I was like, and they were allowed to use calculators because she was in high school. And I was like, you shouldn't do anything in your head, Morgan. You shouldn't do anything in your head. You're too pretty.
Yeah.
You've got a good personality. She's now a hair colorist, makes a lot of money. It's good.
Good for her.
Good for Morgan, okay?
Yeah.
So,
not totally calculating the tips correctly, but that's all right.
She probably... No, I think Morgan does. She used to love it. She she used to go in class and say like, my tutor said this, and let me tell you, he's smarter than you. She would say to the teacher, and I was like, Morgan, don't say that to the teacher. This is why he may not like you.
Yeah.
So,
he's holding the cards here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, oh man. So anyway, I have been working out, and I was telling you that I lost a day. That happened, and also I can barely walk today, Jonathan. I've been working out a lot, and different things have happened throughout the week. So anyone can tell you, like, when you're increasing your fitness or getting back in shape to a certain point, I don't know if your voice does this, but there are certain points where you get soreness that doesn't like break down. So I had a lesson with Alexa Knierim yesterday. It was like totally random.
How was that?
It was good. Like she said, like, what do you help on? I'm like, well, I really need to start working on my spin positions and like the strength for them. And I've known that eventually I would work up to this one exercise that I know is the key exercise that I've been kind of avoiding. Okay. And so I want to get low in my sit spins because my sit spin bothers me. I'm aware that it needs work. And I knew this was coming. And I tried to do it maybe 2 months ago, but like I wasn't even strong enough at all to even fake it. What you do is you get in a shoot the duck position and you lower your leg down to about 90 degrees and then up, and it like works your quad and your abs. And I did it on both sides. And yesterday it felt fine. Today, can't walk. Okay?
Wow. Yeah, that sounds outrageously difficult to me. Okay.
Which, very necessary for if I want to get the kind of spin that I would like. So... Anyway, and then
I bet she's a good teacher. I bet she's good at explaining that kind of stuff. It probably has a nice energy about it. Was it weird to do that kind of thing over video?
It is weird, but at the same time, it's a great chance to break down some stuff that maybe is harder to do on the ice so that you don't have... Because with ice, you have the momentum. Sometimes, like, you can kind of rely on momentum and not...
You could maybe fake it even a little bit more on the ice, don't you think?
A little bit, sometimes.
Yeah.
So, are there other things to do? So, I don't know. It's like a good time to slow down and to really focus on certain things in a repetitive way. So, it was good. And then I also have been jumping, which I hadn't been doing that much of.
A la Victor?
Yeah, and I work with Victor for an hour, a couple times a week. It has felt like my body has been in a car accident. Okay?
Okay.
People think I'm picky, perhaps a little particular. High maintenance, if you will.
If you will.
Victor is our people, Jonathan. I'm just telling you.
Really?
Maybe times 1,000.
Wow. I don't know that I would have guessed that, actually, because, like, sometimes the performances were unfocused or something, so I didn't realize there would be that kind of streak to it.
Like, if you watch his jumps when he was an amateur, like, they're pretty perfect.
Oh, Calgary in particular, some of those.
Even from like 92 Worlds or stuff like that. So, and part of the reason is that he's always had one of the most beautiful triple axels ever, and I took a group class where he's starting to talk about the axle, and I really liked how he was talking about it and dissecting it. Because I've known that like his is like the real way to do it. I could have tried to spin as a person, because I'm never going to do a double axel, just to do it. But I was like, I really should take the opportunity to learn from him, right? And he's like helping me with my LUTs a lot, and he changed my arm position and stuff, and so he's like really breaking down his technique. But he has so many drills and details and gives like so much like detailed step-by-step information, but he is like so particular. I don't know if it's more physically exhausting or mentally exhausting, because you're like,
should hold all of that information all at once, right?
Yeah, so it's been really great while I'm tutoring, because I'm also like, okay, so this is what it feels like to feel like I don't know how to do anything, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you, just to flip it, because sometimes with voice also, I'm trying to pick a couple of bullet points, because I found if I was like, okay, they just did this aria and I need to fix these 4 things. But if you try to get them to do all 4 at once, I start to fear that they zone out.
Yes.
That or they're going to only hone in on that first one because they're still thinking about that. And then by the time I'm getting to the 4th one, it's like not the time. So it's like picking your battles. I don't know. And I need a little bit of that positive encouragement having done something.
So I haven't asked him about it.
Okay.
But I can just tell from his technique, Victor is not a fan of the Atari Sambo 70 axle. Even the one that Hot Sergey posted of Zhilina doing it. No. You jump up. You organize your arms in the air, and then you rotate, and he likes the hip turned out in the air. And then, like, there are so many little details that come from ballet, and he has, like, theories about, like, why he wants the leg turned out.
He has a balletic air position, doesn't he? There's, like, a carriage. It's all, like, this, like, sternum is so enormous when he jumps that axle. Yeah. It's pretty impressive. Who taught him that? Was it a person or was it a school?
So, I have to ask him, but I know that we haven't had time to, like...
Yeah, who's chatting if you're too busy breaking your body down? Yeah.
But I know that they worked with a man named Valentin Nikolaev, so I don't know what was Galina and what was Valentin. So, but it's just funny to be, because my parents, I've been staying with them during quarantine, so they'll hear some stuff on Zoom, and my mom was folding laundry, and she goes, "So when Victor says okay, that means it's not okay, right?" And I said, "Correct. That is entirely correct." But if he goes, okay, that means it's good.
Amazing. I just go, sometimes if a student has done something, I go, because I'm like, buy time, figure out the way to say this. I was like, I bet we could find an easier option there. Instead of you want to be like, what was that? Like,
no.
So, okay.
They have no left arm front. No, okay? Like, you have to just...
Even that, I'm like, okay.
Very detailed takeoff. I find myself like walking around the house, like thinking about the air position. We're just,
that's how it becomes natural, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I learned, my old coach had some shoddy jump technique, and I knew this. This is why I wanted to. But she used to
jump right to the gold medalists. Yeah.
She used to tell me that, like, you have to think about lots like you're pulling a bow and arrow, and like he likes the arm like straight and across. And I have to say, even on the floor, I feel much more secure going to that outside edge. He likes a minimal curve and then a deep curve as you start to actually like extend your leg back. So it's all interesting kind of stuff. But yeah, it's body like
that's interesting.
Total car accident style. Because I realized I don't think I've jumped off ice jumps like that. And for that length of time since I was like 11 years old in front of the TV.
And you're in shape. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. It's you're not an out of shape person now just exercising. It's these specific muscle groups. And we'll get into it when we talk about the Roth article about what they're doing with Nathan right now. There are so many weird muscle groups that you can be honing during this time.
He talked about not doing that many off ice jumps because you can hurt yourself, or what's the point? So
the impact or whatever. Yeah.
The impact is real, Jonathan, okay? You can't do enough spine
I
stretches.
feel like you're just going to... You're going to exit quarantine and get a national jacket.
Love it.
I'm going to send you on a challenge event.
Oh man. So yes, let's break it down. So Rafael, of course, he weighed in on the Trusova. Now there were rumors that
Trusova. I love him.
There were so many Rafael-isms in any interview. So one of the things that I love that Rafael does that's really annoying when you're interviewing him, but he does it all the time because Russians love to play a game of dominance, right? So if you're going to interview Rafael, basically you're calling Rafael to go on a monologue and you will occasionally maybe suggest topics. Basically, that's what's happened.
Yeah, just kind of gently direct. Yeah.
You like try to, if he wants to go in that area, maybe not, but basically.
But the nice thing about someone like him is if you let him go, he'll give you good stuff.
Yes,
like
it just
this
may
article
not be
was
what you're asking about.
Bingo. Yeah.
But he loves to flip it and ask the interviewer questions. That's what that's his MO in so many interviews. So it's always telling. He was asking
with these grand rhetorical questions that you're like, do
I answer?
Do you want me to respond to them? Yeah, or are you just using this as like an expression?
You can never tell the difference, but you do know that you eventually will have to answer at a certain point, and you better have the answer that he's looking for. Okay, that's just like
right. Yeah, there's a pressure.
It's a lot of fun,
Mm-hmm.
You're like,
He gave us some info about Nathan's mom, though. I was really, it was a very candid conversation, and I really enjoyed it because I didn't find it actually overly dramatic. I found it most interesting when he was talking about how different the change of coach can be viewed through the Russian system, because it is so different. And I forget this, like, you think it's like in America where the student and the parents are shopping. They pick the specialist, they're going to go here, they're paying for this, they're paying for that. And our right as the consumer is that we get these things, and it's really interesting that when it's more systematic like that, it has different connotations, I guess.
Yeah, he is true. He always makes a big point that in Russia, it's a system still, and the Federation is financing a lot of that. In America, you have to make yourself. The USFS may try to butt in, but they don't really have control or the power. So I think that that's interesting. So, yeah. I also like that he was honest about Trusova's technique and kind of the Atari technique, where he says that it's good, but he can't say everything's great. Because
about her,
because I think one of the things that makes her so successful is that she's so physically fit that you can see when you look at her, the athleticism in that body is so strong and quick. And it'll be interesting to see if she can develop like beautiful glide. They always call it the glide in these interviews, but like, can she, develop beautiful skating with edges and all of that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a pretty fascinating thing because he was also talking about the mindset of the athlete. Like they were definitely, the interviewer knew what they were doing. They were trying to get these like juicy morsels to quote him on.
The interviewer
but
is Elena Vaitsehovskaya, Olympic champion in platform diving, who was honest about the Atari skaters and then couldn't work for some time because she was too honest about it. So
insane.
And
but I mean,
what's so funny is that everything that everything that Elena said was correct. And yet, all the fans, even because I just said this, they'll be like, "You are wrong. You write these negative." Just look at the comments here. They will be like foaming at the mouth, nationalist. Yes, like. You hate Russia. You are afraid of Russia. Like, how much money have I spent on Russian coaches? Like, please, honey. Yeah. Yes.
Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's quite absurd, that backlash that happens sometimes about that. But I liked when he
happens
was talking
sometimes.
About the mindset of Trusova and family with Nathan and family, because he was basically saying, now there's this whole thing. It was Trusova's idea. She wanted to do all these quads. They told her to wait, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, well, that's Nathan. And he was, I'm assuming, alluding to the short program at the Olympics, when he was like, they made a choice. And I said, this isn't worth the risk. And they did it anyway. He's like, but yet, because Nathan and team are wired that way, and because Sasha is wired this way, that's what makes them great athletes. But then you do need the adult in the room to say, no, we're not doing that, though. Yeah. You know, it was kind of, it's a double-edged sword to have that kind of go-getter jumper kid.
Yeah. Do you think so Rafael said that they work out on the beach. So UCLA Gymnastics does this. They do a beach workout, which sounds fabulous, right? Have you ever tried to
really hard in that terrain?
Have you ever tried to run on the beach? Do you know how like miserable and the next day you are so sore. So I'm like, is this like Rafael's California version of like running and pulling tires and stuff? Because you know those Russians are very special.
It's a Rocky montage, but with Raf and Nathan. Well, and he said they were going back. I liked when he talked about that when Nathan injured himself, that we all watched happen in that exhibition, and then he had to go away. They're going back to all of those training, those off-ice muscle group training. And he was like, it was ultimately because they had that time off and honed in on those muscles that they were able to get the quad flip and let so easily when they came back.
I know. So, well, there's often been the criticism that Raf also can break skaters. So, I mean, there's a fine line with, and you can't just blame the coach, there's a fine line with any athlete. Training hard, training smart, doing what's necessary to get the harder jumps and the harder technical content, and you risk injury. So, that comes with communication. That comes with a lot of when are you pushing and when are you risking injury. So anyway, yeah, very curious to see.
And I loved when he said that he told Nathan they were watching his world championship performances together. He's like, yeah, you know, there's a lot about your skating I do not like. And Nathan was like, me too. So I like, it was just, even if it's promo, if it's just some PR stuff, but like, I don't know, it seems like they are shooting for such a bigger picture. You know, I think they're not working towards an event, but just creating a real mark, right? Don't you think?
Did you note his like Russian power move moment? He had like a bit of an Atari thing. Where, of course, he thought that Nathan's skating was better in 2018 than 2019, because, you know, in 2018 he spent more time with Raf. So that was the subtext there, that his first world...
Wait.
When Nathan won...
I see what you're saying. Yes, that's why he said it was better. Okay, fair enough.
So now all the Hanyu fans will be like, see, we told you he was overmarked in 2019. You always have to, like, look at this from, like, all angles of, like, what we're going to appreciate.
Exactly. Who's getting fired up when?
Oh, yes. Then he talked about how he was tired. He didn't know how much he was tired. Oh my God, he's such a great interview. He's just...
Yeah, he really is. He really is.
I hope he's driving that motorcycle around, mask on. Like, what is he doing? Okay, he's just so fantastic. I mean...
But it was interesting because this was... It's not just fun. Like, I do think he believes in what he's doing. I think he's got a plan. I think he... But then... the article beneath this one is the one where Plushenko... Oh, and he was saying, I loved this. He broke down the jumps. He's like, if you're doing... I'm making up the math. He's like, if you do 100 jumps on a session, you're doing 200 jumps a day. It's this many in the week. It's this many in the month. It's this many over however so many years. And he was like, and then someone comes to me, and in like 2 months, you wonder why you don't see a difference. This person has jumped this way 8 bazillion times. There has to be a transition out of it. And then he's totally correct. It makes total sense to me. If it's too fast, if something about it doesn't seem real. But then the article right beneath was Plushenko saying, you won't even recognize Trusova next season. It's going to be a total sensation, a complete overhaul. And the juxtaposition of those two things, you're like, no, I feel like that other guy got it right. I think slow and steady is going to win this race. And then, yeah.
So I do agree with you there that there's some real hot air going on there.
Yeah.
I do think that it's going to be interesting if we even have a season this year, because it seems very precarious. And it's weird because I was thinking about this earlier today, yesterday, is that we're in a very strange period of time. You're hoping for the best, preparing for the worst, maybe expecting the worst, but not wanting. And unfortunately, everything that we think about involves numbers and involves ultimately people's lives. And someone was on the news and being like, you have to think like each number is a tremendous tragedy for a family. It's like, of course, right? So right. I think like we're in a state where...
But easy to become numb to it when it's just numbers. You wake up, it's here's the new numbers. And then to really take that on and realize what each individual number means. Yeah.
So I think we're in a state now and it's summer and you're like, okay, so states are reopening. People are going back to the ice rink. You hope that they can do it safe. Some people are wearing masks, some people are not wearing masks. You know, if there's an increase, will it be exactly the percentage that we increase? Can you really put a model on this? You know, like how accurate will these models be?
Or a region, because it's region to region also. Like, obviously, when I go for my walks in Central Park, everyone's apart, everyone has the mask, everyone's doing their thing. But I have friends that live in like Miami, and they have a rule that if you're doing intensive exercise, you do not have to wear the mask on the beach. But if you're just hanging out.
I've seen pictures of people in Hell's Kitchen, no at night, like not distancing, really? No masks. You know, it depends on what part of the day, and people, you know, get very riled up. So I think that that's, again, very different, you know, and certain places are more, obviously have more disease than others and more susceptible. New York, a lot of disease. People are not going to wear masks. Like you could be a real carrier. You might not get it yourself. So I think, you know, and you hope that obviously the risk will go down, but then you also receive news, and we're living in this time where we have like two versions of the world that are like thrown at us, and you're trying to...
Right, and no in the middle. Yeah. It's so hard to find in the middle.
And so it's very, I think it's very numbing. You know, like I find myself just trying to go inward and not make any plans. In that point, like I just try to think about today. Maybe tomorrow.
How mindful of you. Yeah.
Well, that's all we can do to stay sane, Jonathan. Like, is there going to be Grand Prix season? Is there not going to be Grand Prix season? I have no idea. But I imagine for
Tomorrow's
the athletes, that could be extremely taxing and mentally exhausting after a while. Because emotionally, you're like this. And I keep thinking about the Olympics in terms of those athletes. It feels eerily similar to me, to the boycott in 1980 when the U.S. boycotted, because they thought they might boycott, then they might not, and it was like going back and forth. And I think that for the athletes that are preparing for 2021, you're like, well, logically, we should be better. Are we going to have a vaccine? Are we going to not? You know, it could...
Oh, you mean for the summer? Because I actually think for the winter, I have thoughts on that. But I think to be a summer Olympic athlete right now, I mean, of course... And this is all, we understand that other people are experiencing even scarier situations, much more. Everyone is. As it applies here, like, it's just how do you move forward? Because so much is planned ahead of time. Yeah. The body peaking, you know, we even talk about it within the season, how much your body is coming up and down.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. You cannot sustain.
No. And we're getting into precarious territory where the season feels more and more unlikely, at least the fall competitive season. Like we may have a whole, like maybe everyone can compete at nationals. Who wants to compete at nationals? If that even takes place, maybe it will take place without no crowd. Like it is at such a state because I think, but then, you know, other sports are maybe starting to come back, you know, so we don't know what exactly will happen, but it does seem like, you know, the Slovakia Andrei Nepola Trophy I read was going to be canceled, and their Junior Grand Prix. Now, they could be rescheduled. They could also be reassigned. They could also just be canceled because the whole thing is going to be canceled. And it does seem like, you know, originally, you know, you hear mixed messages about borders and things change over time, and, you know, who knows? So, and it's interesting because, you know, I work in a company where we have an office building that's a skyscraper, but we primarily use elevators. And you know, you could go back to...
They want to limit Manhattan elevators to like, I was reading something where it's like 2 people in an elevator. Do you know how long it's going to take for everybody to get to their damn office?
Yeah, so we have thousands of people in my office building. They're like, you're working from home until 2021, like most likely. So, again, it's this like weird thing. You start to hear that people are back on the ice in Wilmington or back on the ice in Colorado. Then Colorado's maybe shut. Then this one is open and shut. Like, it's a very strange time, and I really do feel for the athletes. And I think that you have to find motivation to improve and to work on things that are not just result oriented for the short term.
And that's almost even what I felt like Roth was getting at when he was talking about Nathan's skating or something. I was like, this isn't, we've got to win Skate Canada. This is just about the general broad stroking of a craft. Even what you're doing with your skating right now, like, I remember the season you were competing, it was so specific, those goals. But right now you are a true student of the sport.
Well, I have no immediate goals. Who knows if we're competing this year? Who knows if we're not competing this year? Who knows what we'd have time to prepare for? You know, I'm not going to do
And it's hard to do that. At the end of the day, these are kids. I mean, I know some of them are older, but really in their heart of hearts, most of these people are kids.
And also, I look at it in a couple of ways. When the skating rink first opens, it's not going to have the same amount of hours. There are kids who I skate at the rink with who need to practice more than I do, right? So they should go on the rink. I also don't know, like, do I really want to practice with a mask on? Like, I was just in the store with a mask. I don't go out very often, but when I did have it on, I was like, I can't imagine breathing on the ice in this.
When I just tried to jog a little with it, I was like, I guess we're walking, because it so restricts the amount of air you can take in and stuff like that. It's just, I
don't know.
Although Oksana, what did Oksana wear in the GD program?
You know, that felt breathable to me. I don't know if that would work at this moment. So
now she's got to be marketing those. If Oksana Baiul came out and made all of those Peter Gabriel program masks for everyone, we would buy that. I know someone was doing.
She should have called. Oh my God, speaking of Oksana Baiul.
Oh, I like where this is headed.
Oksana has always, like, befriended certain people, and I don't know if, like, everyone is
in on the joke?
In on, like, the same set of facts, right?
Okay.
So all of a sudden, I was tutoring the other night, and I get a call from a number I didn't recognize, and then the person goes, Dave. And I was like, I have news from Oksana. And I was like, okay. And he was like, do you know that she doesn't own her short program dress from the Olympics? And I was like,
no.
And he was like,
I didn't know that. Yeah.
He's like, that could be a big moneymaker. And he was like, and I was like, well, where does she think it is? And he goes, Galina's closet. And I was like, so you know Galina was sued by Oksana. And you know that Galina footed the bill for a lot of stuff. So, you know, that's going to be a little hard. She might need to call a lawyer there. You know, maybe that's...
Yeah. You're asking me through Victor to somehow get into Galina's house.
No, she doesn't know that. Oh my God, don't tell her that. You know, like.
Okay.
Literally, I was just like, you know, there are some people when they call me at work or they message me, they're like, "Can I call you?" And you're like, deep breaths.
I hate the question. Yeah.
I'm working on an interview with a gymnast. I never know if they're going to show up at that time, not show up. You don't know what kind of mood they're going to be in. Like, you never know. We are on a journey, Jonathan. Okay? We are on a journey. It's a fascinating interview. I mean, the body language is everything. Okay?
Okay. It looks good, the things I've been seeing so far.
I mean, did you ever... I asked Tatiana Gutsu, what was there truth to that rumor about Rosa Galyeva feeling that she was poisoned at the 92 Worlds? Tatiana goes, you know, I've heard about this. And like, there was a laugh, Jonathan. There was a laugh.
Yeah. And then she threw her under the bus and implied what she implied. I mean, I thought she was going in a different direction with all that.
I don't know.
She explained who was rooming with who. But...
No, I think that was an alibi.
Oh, okay. Okay. A rehearsed one?
No, I mean, it could have been anyone. I just feel like she may know more about that story than she explored.
Yeah.
It's
Follow up.
It's been a journey.
Yeah, I bet it has.
Like that Maria Bucherskaya program, Tales of a Journey. You know, it's been like...
Well, actually, you just posted the 1988 Nationals videos.
Yeah.
And I talk about going on a journey. I like pulled up that chair and I was like, I want to see. Yes, okay, we knew Jill and Karen and all that. I was like, I want to see Nancy, Tanya, and Christy and all this sort of stuff. Tanya was sensational, I thought. Christy was sensational. Nancy was the pits.
Outskated by Tanya Kwiatkowski. I feel. And
Yeah, I agree, actually. And I thought Tanya and Christy should have been much higher.
We often forget that Kwiatkowski was really a contemporary of them, who just stayed around and became a competitor of Michelle and Nicole Bobek.
Stuck around, yeah.
Sticking around. But how about Tanya Harding going for a triple loop, triple toe, but with like the old school kind of Karen Chen technique where you go up on the first jump and...
Yeah, her triple, for as great a technician as she just always, it was too big always, that first jump. It just, even when she was just doing the triple toe.
Yeah.
I think in the 90s we really only saw it clean once, you know.
She was just hauling into it. Pure...
And I just thought, man, to have seen her do that kind of movement live, who else there was moving and jumping like that, you know?
All these Fossies. The Fossies knew how to pick a beautiful girl. There was Tracy Damigella. I mean, there was just some real talent going on there.
Yeah, it was a really fun one to go back and kind of rewatch.
How about Dick Button talking about Holly Cook, calling her real meat and potatoes kind of skater?
That was the line. And you know what? I was like, yep, got it right again, Dick. That's exactly what's happening here.
My old coach Natasha talking about Bobrova Soloviev. She used to say that they were like a piece of meat with no salt or pepper. Same degree of shade, you know, same...
Yeah, in a totally different way. Yes, you can do a lot with those words.
You can, right? There was just like things happening.
Yeah.
So
now Holly Cook, but she did have a very managed quality to her skating.
Yeah. So were you on Instagram this week when we had the very... You know, like when you apologize to someone... or you thank them, but you know that they're going to be mad at you anyway, but you do it for PR reasons. So you know that, like, technically they can't publicly be mad at you, or they shouldn't, but they still...
technically the right thing? Yeah. Okay.
So Hot Sergey, when he thanked each person, you could tell that he liked Sergey Dudikov the best out of the group, right? But... you know, Seryosha, you know, Danya, you know, Terry Georgievna, you know, like he was just, you know, spewing these words. I think Trusova's was written by Yana. I have to say. The way she thanked Terry, but then also thanked all of her other coaches who gave her just, you know, glowing about Plashenko and glowing about Hot Sergey. It was just a work of art.
And Rock brings up this point. He was like, this is so funny to me, this drama, because you can't have a double standard. Either someone betrays their old coach when they come to you and then betrays you when they leave you, or no one's betraying anyone and they're just seeking out the right place for them. It's got to be one or the other. It can't. And he was like, the fact that they receive so many students.
But then he was making a point. He's like, notice that Terry's being less dramatic about this. She's getting used to him.
Yeah.
Because the Medvedeva thing was...
That one got ugly. But also, as a result, Trusova's following a script that was accidentally given to her about what
script.
not to do.
And you know they're probably just as angry, but frustrated, right?
Yeah, that they can't really express it in the same way because technically she's doing the things they said she should.
And I don't think a Terry stays down for long. You know, I think she shifts.
No. Yeah, she makes an adjustment.
Yeah, I think she'll find the next girl. But maybe, who cares about 2021? We're going to go for the Olympics. I mean...
She'll go find some random girl from Kazakhstan to come in and just steal a medal.
Yes.
And just call it a day. Yeah.
Representing
Russia.
Russia.
We may never hear from that girl again.
What was her name? Tursunbayeva. She knows she came.
With the
she
mom.
went.
Because with the mom. Yeah.
No one even talks about her anymore, Jonathan. No one remembers. No one talks. Everyone pretended that... Is she coming back? How's she doing in quarantine? No one even remembers.
Maybe she's finally healed.
She is girls ago, Jonathan. We have been through so many. I mean...
Yeah. She's competed with Tanya Kwiatkowski, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
So.
I mean... Oh, that was funny, too, is that... So, our Russian source, who, like, she wades through the different articles, right? And she'll be like, this one's a fake one, and you can kind of tell. So she goes, looking at it, and was looking at something and goes, told me about Petrosian. And the article that she originally sent me was then later deleted after I talked about it. And then another article quoted me. And I was like, as if I'm the source. And I was like...
Right.
No. But...
Yeah, hold on now. Yeah.
So that's why I try to, when I remember, to link all of the links into the... Yeah. And it was so funny because you never know which skater they're going to get behind. They care about the one...
Or why. Yeah.
Petrosian looks like Medvedeva, so they are obsessed with her. They weren't that into Zhilina leaving. They didn't care. Even though she won the show Ice Age. You can't pick it. To me, I think all their styles, very similar. Very similar choreography.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that the new judging system allows for the development of personality, so it's amazing.
And it's an anomaly. It is by chance that we kind of have three personalities with those top three that were at Sambo 70 this past season. And it made it so much more enjoyable than I think what's coming up behind it, which are more factory-like. I think there's more conformity.
And I think it's because they are such strong characters to get to the top that they have those stronger, more vibrant personalities. So
totally. And again, as Ross said in that interview, he's like, don't blame them, blame the system. The system rewards them. He was like, don't tell me that Trusova's results. Tell her that she needs to work on her skating skills.
I mean, that's what someone was telling me. So I was talking to one choreographer, one of the many who have worked with Tuktamisheva, and then they later disregarded the program. And they were saying that it was really hard to drive home to Mishin that something needed to be changed because they're like, well, look at the components. And they were like, yeah, well, they're okay now, but see about it in a year or two what will happen over time. And it is true. But
right.
You know.
I mean, and it's tricky because, again, when we have some arguments or, whatever points that we're talking about on the show, it's about what we like for the sport in general aesthetically. But if you're a coach and you're looking at the results, it's like, okay, yeah, we could yank all the quads out and we can just do ice dancing drills all day and they'll lose. And so, I mean, you can't fault Atiri is right. Her track record is pretty freaking flawless.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. But it's propelling a version of the sport that I don't know that I'm particularly always a fan of. And that's not her fault. She's just playing to win. And I think if the sport decided it needed something different, I mean, this is an age-old conversation, but like, it's even more obvious now. I think she would adapt if the system. Let's see what happens with these new ISU rules.
So what do you think about them? Because there's also debate about the language and the interpretation. There are some that feel that the Q is really replacing the carrot. Others are like, no, the Q is really for like that Mawasada Mirai swoosh on the landing. And then you have your single carrot and double carrot. And there's some interpretation of how those rules are written. And I've heard different things from different coaches and people. Their interpretation of what that Q really is. Whether.
And what does the Q do to the score?
It lowers your GOE.
In a similar way to the carrots?
Yeah, the carrots will be more severe.
Right.
But
so better to have a cue, and it's really just kind of about your overall quality takeaway more than an actual...
It is. If you get labeled the cue too many times, people are going to look for it.
Sounds like we're saying, like, gay or queer.
But remember, people do review protocols from event to event, or, and Every caller knows what to look at. If I'm judging Ashley Kane in an event, I am going to look to see, is she getting that triple loop around? Even more than the average person, because I know in the back of my mind that Mirai Nagasu has a reputation of getting a carrot, or that Malasada has a reputation of getting the carrot based on the flexibility, based on how, she carves into the ice, and everyone's body is different. Maybe someone that has less flexibility, has more of a clear rotation, but that's just anatomical, so and then with the technique. So it's going to be really interesting. Also, there are certain things that just feel like gaslighting. Lukernik has a background in mathematics, and it just happens that typically when these rules get changed, they aren't arbitrary. There's a strategy behind them, and they typically benefit people. And I don't know, is it going to be in the interpretation of the rules or what? But the fact that they're now saying that a triple flip and a triple Lutz have the same base value, what? Like, what on this earth are you talking about?
Because now remind me. So the way we kind of grew up in the 90s, always, the hierarchy was you would get differing opinions, but Toe and Sao
are the only ones that people really debate. Okay, like which one?
Yeah, that they seem like they're basically the same. The loop was always on its own. And then the only reason I always put the flip and Lutz into a category is because chances are someone was going to flutz one of them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't know who this
They're now
benefits.
Saying that the flip and Lutz are equally as difficult, and with an edge call, and that's strange. Now I'm someone who I have to watch my outside edge on a Lutz, but I think that the Lutz involving counter rotation is harder. But then when we were talking with Irina Slutskaya, she went to the outside edge on the flip. Maybe the flip is harder for her, but we've always been taught that the Lutz is harder than the flip. And it's just strange to go through decades of skating and then to have them assign them the same value. I think it
shows... For seemingly no reason. And so then it makes you suspicious what the reason is.
I think it just shows you that these rules are... To start to compare these world records into things, like, they don't use a different stopwatch in track and field from year to year. Maybe they use different performance-enhancing drugs, which they in skating too, but they're not changing, like, the length of a second, right? Which is what they are continually doing with these rules every year. And it's just mind-boggling.
And it's a bit arbitrary. Like, I understand when big shifts need to happen. And you know what? I think quads 100% get those girls the chance to do a quad in a technical program.
Sure, why not?
But something like, what does that even do, the flip and the Lutz? Are they bringing the flip up, or are they bringing the Lutz down?
Well, they're bringing the Lutz down, actually. But,
which is interesting because they all seem so obsessed about getting high scores.
But they've recalibrated the value, right?
Okay.
Wait, I just want to make sure that I didn't misspeak. I'm looking at it. I might have been looking at it with the Q, but I have the pairs at this point. I was scrolling through.
And if anything, if we were talking from our perspective, we've talked about how we hope that the factoring that it's timed by changes.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So, anyway, with the Lutz, and then what they did with... But then it's so strange, because how can you say that a triple loop is less difficult than a triple flip and a triple Lutz, but then when it's a quad, they're all the same? What? Who voted and who... So this is the whole thing about...
what are you talking about?
Yes, you know that a quad loop, a quad flip, and a quad Lutz are all now worth 11 points. But
that's ridiculous.
But at the triple level... It's different. Now, there are different theories about this, why they're doing the quad. Is it to keep... Is it to make Nathan and Hanyu more competitive?
Yeah. Listen, this is all, speculation, but that's the only reason I think quad loop is pretty random, although I love...
And is it to make Kosternaya more competitive, too, by bringing down the value of the quad Lutzes that Sherbakova and Trusova are doing? And then if you bring down that value and then attach the full blade assist...
They're toast.
Right?
Sherbakova's in trouble. Yeah.
But then you have to think, what's the motivation behind that?
Right.
It's not purely of the sport. There's a lot of politics going on in here with these values from year to year. So, and how come quad throws are too dangerous, but quad jumps, more the merrier?
Yeah, ridiculous, because Paris is stagnating now. Just like for a long time, ladies was. You know, we had like Mao's triple axel, but the rest was really all 1992 Olympic content. Well, even with her triple axel, you know.
It's just
so it's
strange. It just feels gross, but I guess it hasn't really sunk home, because who knows if there's going to be a season this year, right?
Right.
What is
so they could just vote it and change it next time.
Yeah.
So it'll all be for naught.
I wonder, like, who voted for this? Who approved it?
And when they do these, does someone present them, or do they just kind of?
They presented.
Vote?
You could watch it online one year when they were voting on things at the ISU. But this is very strange. I wonder what
because I would be
Bradford
intrigued to
thinks
see
about
the presentation.
Well,
I want to hear the spiel. Like, how was this presented? And
I would love to hear. I would like that BS to wash over me. Okay.
Yeah.
Like a Tarasova interview. I just want it to. Okay. Oh. I would love it, okay?
Okay.
But are the speed skaters voting on this as well? Because what incentive do they have to approve or disprove anything unless they want to get something, you know, are they trading? Like, it's so corrupt, okay?
But then you wonder, like, but I think the bigger question for me is what you're saying is, trading with who? Mm-hmm. With whom? With who does this... That's the perplexing part. You know something's here, but you can't figure out who would be like, oh, thank God, now we're in the clear.
And so we're in this weird... The ISU, it's written in obviously translated English, right? Okay, a double carat is missing half a revolution or more for the double carat. But other people feel that the double carat used to be for anything more really than the quarter, right? Like anything more. But this is now, so, you know, different coaches say different things about how they read this and interpreted this. So under rotated with 1 carat means missing rotation of more than a quarter, but less than a half. So theoretically, some of those that are on the quarter would then be perhaps only getting a Q. So landed on the quarter means technical panel will assign a Q, and the jump will still get full base value, but the judges will release GOE.
Okay.
So that's for on the quarter. But then they said for less than a quarter missing, no sign will indicate this. The jump will receive full base value and the judges will reduce GOE. So you have slightly more than a quarter, on the quarter, and less than a quarter. And really, what is the flippin' difference? Okay? How are you going to grade that? Is there a protractor? Like, what is...
well, I mean, yeah, if you have to determine which one is exactly a quarter.
And how political is that between all of this? It's, first of all, these rules are so microscopic now, and they are impossible to decipher to the that's ridiculous, okay?
Yeah, how could a federation say the caller got this wrong? Yeah. Like, how are you going to argue what was the real thing there?
Can we call Shinamano? Do you know that he is at the Granite Club? We need to call him and, like, meet him. We know that he can't give interviews, but apparently he's a very nice man. He just maybe be a little... you know, anal retentive or something. Maybe.
But was always universally anal retentive in a competition. So it was like, okay, we all know he's going for it, but he would equally go for it. I thought it was...
I also would like to know, how would Shin judge GOE? Because I bet he would be very...
very particular.
Vanessa Riley about that, too.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But if I have to go back, if I have to rewatch something in slow-mo 100 times and zoom in to figure out if it's quarter or not, we're missing the point.
We are going to have so many long posts from Tom Zakrajcik about this, okay?
Yeah. But, I mean, to Tom's point, he was just saying, like, whatever you do, can you just universally apply it or not?
That is not what Tom was saying.
Oh, see, I picked up on that the biggest complaint was the inconsistency of the application of those rules.
There was a lot.
Yeah, well, that's very true.
It was a lot to take in. Okay.
Yeah.
It was like It was a couple deep breaths before you even read that. You know, you're like, oh, dear God. Okay.
And then well.
Okay, so now the reductions for errors. Okay, so the wrong edge for flip and Lutz is -2 to -4. By the way, that's kind of a wide. Why do you have to go from -2 to -4? Why not -3 to -4? Unclear edge, -1 to -2. Unclear edge with no sign just gets -1. Now, the downgraded with the double caret is a -3 to -4, and that's a reduction.
Wait, okay, I'm going to ask you some layman questions. So go back for a second. When you were saying you can take a point to 2 points off if the edge to the judge's eye is unclear, which may not necessarily be confirmed by the caller.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now it's almost like two people are calling this, right?
I mean, it's like so insane.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if my dad was knocking on the door. We're having dinner in a minute. But anyway, so I don't want like someone to yell at me in the comments if I agree to something. Okay. But you had a downgraded sign, an under-rotated, but it's all degrees about the quarter. Like, Is it Jonathan, 26? Like, think about like 26%, 24%, and 25% are all different things here. Okay?
Yeah. And that could vastly change a podium. You know.
Not to be rude. But why does it feel like figure skating is becoming a Rain Man fantasy? Okay? I just feel...
It's not supposed to be Sudoku. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on now.
It is... That is special. That is really...
And again, I don't think the way that some of the... If you were going to go for something, go for PCS adjustments. Let's figure out how to accurately judge PCS. Because even Roth was alluding, why would she change her PCS if they're telling her it's fine? This part, was there a huge controversy? I didn't like when they made it no longer in... For a while, it was giving benefit of the doubt to the rotation, right? They were like, if you're on the fence, just give it to him, right? And then when that changed, I thought we were heading down a slippery slope.
Oh, we are heading down a very slippery slope, okay?
We're Alberto Ciampa. Okay.
Judging by computers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too much. It's just, it's like...
It's missing the point.
It's like when lawyers are negotiating contracts and they just try to redline the wording of things just to see who can redline it more.
Right.
And they go back and forth and back and forth about all of it. And it's so conceptual and it makes not a lick of sense.
Yeah.
It's like you could just like write in a contract, don't be an asshole. Done. Right? And like, the lawyer wants to be like, don't be an asshole unless.
Exactly.
And then 27 votes.
Although, gosh, dear Lord, I mean, force majeure. Every contract I've had is force majeure. Like, you're like, oh yeah, I guess that's what that part of that contract meant. That no one is legally required to pay me now that they've canceled all these productions. But
oh my goodness, yes. So,
yeah.
I mean, oh my goodness, it's so funny because we have a certain review. We have a legal review, and then we have we have lawyers that review it. And one lawyer I actually used to work with when I was a paralegal, and he'll review things, and he thinks for him it's more readable. And I'm like, well, Fred, you did go to law school somewhere where how you think a fifth grader would read is a little bit different than how we think a fifth grader would read. And maybe that there's are different things there.
Yeah. And maybe someone doesn't really want to focus in order to understand this particular paragraph. We're just kind of trying to make it as understandable as possible. We're optimizing our chances for success. Dumb it down. Well,
it's more understandable for you, and it's like, yes, well, Fred, you're not the average person. You work on like IP. I mean, God bless. It's
God
love
know your audience.
Gotta love them. Okay. An old salty dog takes the newspaper to the bathroom when he goes in there. I mean, God love him.
No shame. Yeah, okay.
Nice man, though. So.
Oh, we should mention Ron Ludington.
Oh, yeah.
Who passed away this past week. It was this week, right?
Yeah, it was the other day.
Yeah. It was interesting to see a couple of the posts, you know. I'm a big John Mulaney fan. I don't know if you watch John Mulaney.
Who's John Mulaney?
He's a stand-up comedian, but our age range, kind of, and so few people who do that are.
I prefer postmenopausal women that do stand-up. I'm just saying.
This is basically the same.
Okay.
You'll like him. But he does this thing where he talks about how every celebrity death is all about himself and da-da-da-da-da, and you post the picture and yada-yada. But there were many nice tributes that people were doing, because I have to say, it's a name you always read about in books, but I didn't have much
He was kind of the king of Delaware. And he really...
Yeah.
So he really helped develop pair skating in the U.S., especially after the plane crash. He really took on the coaching role, and a lot of people... Sandra would work with him with her brother, and he was in charge of the rink in Delaware for many, many years. So I always think of that story where Maribel put a chair over his head, and then they went out for... She had a beer, he had not a beer, wanted a beer, but couldn't have one, and then they talk about that in Rise, and then all was well.
Okay.
So
okay. I saw Rise, but I don't recall that part. I'm going to have to rewatch it.
Yeah, so that happened, and then the rink that Frank Carroll coaches at in Palm Desert closed because when I heard the rumor about it is that they, in the desert, tried to keep the ice surfaces like up during quarantine, and that just bled money further. That they tried to keep the ice frozen instead of just getting rid of it for right now. So, I mean, who knows if that's true, false? But these are the kinds of things that ice rinks are having to deal with.
And ice rinks don't seem like maybe such cash cows. I think a lot of them hang on by a thread more than we realize.
I think in the desert, I mean, people do ice hockey here, but how popular do you think ice hockey is in Palm Springs? I know that someone's going to be like, my son plays ice hockey in Palm Springs. Let's talk about percentages of the population. You know, it might be a lighter area than, say, Minnesota. They may have a stronger hockey culture. So.
Well, and I'm sorry, even as things loosen up, it's going to be easier to train six-figure skaters on open ice than to start reinstalling all your hockey programs where it's like the antithesis of social distancing.
Well, Jonathan, with all of those gear, they have more protect PPE on with those helmets.
I think you breathe plenty through that mask. But yeah,
if you can spit teeth out through the mask and they can land on the ice, it is not safe for anyone. Okay.
That's right. I saw the cutting edge with that spitting helmet.
It's just... But it is scary. I mean, what's going to happen with all these coaches? Yeah. So, I don't know. Stuff we'll have to see. You know.
On that
note, we really, we lifted everyone up this week. I think we really, we've talked about death. We've talked about corrupt judging and
the slippery slope of overanalysis and technical jumps. I think it's wonderful.
Yes, I think that they should judge a violin competition with why not just have not just the sound of the violin, but why not the angle? And why don't we have a computer measure the angle of the head as it turns? And
it's a thing, Dave. And it's interesting you mention it because I did the big competition circuit for singing, and the people that relied on that were the people that didn't get it. They didn't have the ability to sense when something was beautiful or sense if a timbre was gorgeous or if a piece was gorgeously interpreted. They only knew if you didn't double your T in Italian. They only knew if you missed that eighth rest. And you're like, then you're missing the point. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I find it provincial. It's a provincial approach.
Just saying. Watch Tom Z skating from the '88 Nationals. It will explain everything. Okay?
Say no more. Yeah. No, I'm going to go watch Tanya again. Harding, not...
you got to watch Tom, too. Okay? It will explain everything. Watch that, and then watch Brandon Morose. It's like watch Elaine Zayak, and then watch young Jimmy Ma. And you will be like, whoa.
Oh, that's where they get that from.
Yes.
Yeah. Totally.
Mind-blowing. Hold it, it should look sexy. Bye, guys.